Hello everyone, this is Gary, KK4GC, here in the shack by the track. This is the first of probably a series of videos I wanted to do to show you some of the features that got me hooked on the DXLab software suite that I prefer to use for rig control and logging. This particular video is for the SpotCollector application. It collects spots from the DX cluster servers out there on the internet, and it's the same concept basically as some of the web-based spotters that you may have seen, like this one, DXWatch.com, or this one, DX Summit. Move that window back out of the way. The difference is that SpotCollector, like the name implies, collects the spots and writes them all to a searchable local database. Like with DXKeeper, which is the logging application, and I'll do another video for that one. One thing that got me hooked is the custom filtering that you can do. I'm not gonna get real deep into the setup and configuration of SpotCollector, such as configuring the spot sources or aging and pruning old spots out of the database, or setting up audio or email alerts, which is kind of cool because you can have it email you, perhaps to your smartphone, whenever an interesting spot is detected. And you can write a filter to determine what interesting is, and have it alert you whenever that spot comes in and passes the filter. If I pause the video or mute the audio for a little bit, it's probably to look for a window that I wanted to present, or move something out of the way, or to let the train go by, or something. As always, I'm not necessarily showing you how it should be done. I'm just showing you how I did it and what works for me. So let's get started. First, I'll describe the apps that are shown in the DXLab launcher window. That's how you usually start and stop the various DXLab applications. The first one is Commander. That's the CAT interface between the radio and the software. And like all CAT interfaces, it's how the application keeps up with what the radio is doing, where it's tuned to at any given time. It allows the application to track the radio's current frequency and mode selection, and likewise allows you to send commands to the radio to QSY to various frequencies and modes. One thing I want to show you in Commander real quick, you'll see here I'm on 17 meters at 18,164 or thereabouts. Tune up to 18,165 even. Now you'll notice when I go anything above 18,165, Commander turns red, and that's because I have it configured to display the VFO frequency in red whenever I get too close to a band edge, usually within 3K of the band edge, depending on whether I'm in upper sideband or lower sideband. But I just wanted to show you that. I figured out how to do that a while back, and I thought it was kind of interesting. So I'll dial back down and turn that green again. The next application is DXKeeper. That's the logging facility within DXLabs. It's yellow here, meaning that it is enabled and running, but it's the screen is minimized, so you can't see it right now, except for the DXKeeper's capture window, which I have up on the screen. and that'll become apparent here in a few minutes. The other apps, DXView, Pathfinder, PropView, and Wind Warbler, are not enabled. They're not running at this time, so that's what the red lights are. And the last one is SpotCollector itself, which is green, meaning it's running and it's visible in this window right here. So I'll explain some of the colors here that you see on the screen because they're all represented here in this one window. The red ones are entities that I have never worked before on any band or mode. The orange ones, like this one for France here, I've worked France before, but not on 80 meter sideband. The blue ones, like this one for Brazil, indicate that I've worked that entity before, Brazil in this case, on 20 meter sideband, but I don't have a confirmation for it yet. And then the black ones, the black text you see is a spot for an entity or a country that I have worked on that particular band and mode, and for which I have a confirmation. Now I'll show some of the basic filters that I usually have in place in SpotCollector. Usually have a band, mode, and origin filter going at any given time. Let's look at the origin filter here. This determines which sources that you're interested in. Usually I'm only interested in spots that are originated from either Eastern or Middle North America or from some unknown entity. Usually doesn't do me too much good to hear or see spots from any of these other locations. I'd prefer to see a spot that originated more or less locally. If I click all, you'll notice that the origin filter goes away because they're not filtered anymore. Everything is permitted, and if everything's permitted, then nothing's filtered. So that's why the origin filter goes away. That's why most of the filters go away when everything is selected. So I'll pick none here, turn everything off. You see all the spots go away, and I'll turn them back on one at a time the way I had it before, and close that window. And move on to the mode filter. These are the various modes that you can filter on. And the ones that I have checked are the ones that I'm generally interested in, sideband or FM for phone, RTTY, one of the PSKs, and a couple of the other ones. I think basically every mode is probably represented here. I don't mess around with this filter. I don't mess around with the mode filter too often. And we'll close that one out of the way and show you the band filter. These are the bands that I am typically interested in. 160 is not enabled because my antenna is not cut for 160 and doesn't transmit, at least not very well there. And it won't tune on 15 at all. So I have 160 and 15 disabled. And you'll see, notice here this transceiver band only switch. If I enable that, it'll change the filter to only look at that particular band that the radio is currently tuned to. Right now, the 17 meter band. If I click, punch the button on the radio for the 80 meter band, the filter changes and only shows me spots for 80 meters. or 40 meters if I click 40, or 30 meters, which I guess there's nothing there for 30 meters tonight, or 20 meters, or back to 17 meters. You get the idea. And if I want to put the filters back to the way I had them before, I can hit the history button here, the back arrow button in the band filter history, and it'll put them right back to the way I had them before. And close that window and get it out of the way. I'll show you the continent filter. There isn't one right now because all the continents are selected. And again, if they're all selected, if they're all permitted, then nothing's filtered. But if I disable Europe, for example, and choose to exclude spots from Europe, or not from Europe, but for Europe, then you'll see I'll have the continental filter is now in effect. So I'll put that back the way it was. And close that filter config out of the way, and show you the age filter. This one will display only spots that were created within the last 10 minutes. Right now 10 minutes, because I have it configured for a 10-minute age. It is configurable. So those are brand new spots. Out of all the spots in the database, only 14 of them pass this filter, band, mode, origin, and less than 10 minutes old. So I'll turn that back off and show you the need filter. If I click this one, it only shows me spots that pass the band, mode, and origin filter, and for entities that are unworked. So all of these are either going to be red because I've never worked them before at all, or they're going to be orange because I've never worked them on that particular band or mode. I'll clear that filter out, and I'll show you the frequency filter. If I enable that, it shows only the spots that are within plus or minus 10K, which is also configurable, but right now it'll only show the spots that are plus or minus 10K from the currently tuned VFO frequency, according to Commander up here. So let's tune around a little bit. Hopefully I can do this without hitting the camera, and we'll see what happens. We should see some spots either appear or disappear depending on where they fall within that 20K window. There's a few more that came up, but that now fall within that 20K window. So you can see as I tune around with the frequency filter enabled, spots will appear and disappear depending on how close they are to where the rig's currently tuned to. I'll disable that filter and show you the where you can define some custom SQL filters, which is really what got me turned on or hooked on this particular software suite. There are 32 custom SQL filters that you can write. They're displayed 8 at a time down here along the bottom of the window. Right now these are filters 1 through 8. That button is for 9 through 16. This button is for 17 through 24. I don't know why it ends with 23 there. That should be 24. I looked at that a while ago and I couldn't figure out why it's like that. But in any case, these are filters 17 through 24. And these are 25 through 25 through 32. Let's see. We'll try the country filter first. Let's say Germany. Type the name or the partial name of the country you're interested in the text box. Hit the country filter, and it shows you all the filters for any entity with the word Germany in its name. In this case, Federal Republic of Germany. Try another one, Russia, because I believe there's a couple of different Russias. There's one for European Russia. I believe there's an Asiatic Russia as well. Seems like I've seen that one before. So that's the country filter. You get the idea. Here's another one, Italy. There's all the spots for Italy. And the good thing about this filter is if you don't know the official country name, if you know just part of it, you can search on that and usually get some results. Another one that I use a lot is the notes filter. And what that does is whatever string you type in the text box, it will search the spot notes looking for matches. So let's say we're interested in parks on the air. So type POTA in the text box and hit notes, and there's some parks on the air that have been spotted. Anything with POTA in the spot notes will be a match and will be displayed. Let's see, islands on the air. See if there's any of those out there. Where am I? Notes. There's a few islands on the air, or a few spots for islands on the air. It was Kids Day today, so type in kids and see how many spots were there. There's a few spots for Kids Day. It looks like 20 of them actually that passed this particular filter. And that's kids, the way I typed it in, K-I-D-S, that's kids plural. So we take that off, and we'll just make it kid, and you might see a difference here. You'll see that kid not only matches K-I-D, but it matches, it'll match K-I-D-S or K-I-D apostrophe S. So that's just something to be aware of when you're typing in a string like that you're filtering on. You may or may not get the results you're looking for, depending on your spelling and the spelling of the spot note itself. Another one here is one that I named third PA filter, or third party agreement. That one is a list of all of the countries, or actually a list of the prefixes of all of the countries for which the United States has a third-party operating agreement. Let's say somebody's visiting the shack, a new ham, or maybe somebody that's not a ham yet and they're thinking about it. What better way to get them hooked on ham radio than to let them talk to a foreign country somewhere? So with this filter, it'll display a list of spots for a country, any country that they're allowed to talk to. I'll go into edit mode so you can see what this filter looks like. Control click on it will pull it up in edit mode, and then it's the currently selected filter. I guess you can't see that right behind the camera now. It's the currently selected filter, number 7, and if I do expand, it'll show you the filter in its entirety. It has to pass any origin filter that might be in effect, as well as any mode filter. that might be in effect. And then it has to match one of the prefixes or prefix ranges that are defined here within the filter. An easier way to have done that filter may have been to use the DXCC ID number for the individual countries instead of their prefixes. It would have been probably a little shorter filter, and I wouldn't have had to have defined the prefix ranges like this one here, L0 through LW, or LO through LW, or this one here, HQ through HR. That's what that filter means. The things in brackets is usually a range of characters that will match the filter. So anyway, that's the third-party filter. And close that out, get that out of the way, and hit the X to clear that custom filter and go back to the default. I'll show you some custom mode filters that I use sometimes. Instead of having to reconfigure the various modes in here and turn them off and on and off and on and be constantly in this screen reconfiguring things, I just wrote some mode filters that I use occasionally. FM mode, AM, CW, Contestia, I guess there's nothing there, Olivia, PSK, PSK anything actually, PSK 63, it may show PSK 31 or something else in there as well. I guess not. You see I scrolled with the scroll bar, so auto scroll is disabled. There's no new spots coming in. I haven't missed anything. That's why it's flashing blue. If it were flashing red, then that would indicate that auto scroll is disabled and there's something new that I haven't seen yet that I might be interested in. RIDI, I guess RIDI contest is going on this weekend, so there's just tons of RIDI spots. And sideband. And I believe, yes, on the sideband filter, I currently have the need filter attached to it as well. That's why those are all either red or orange, because I've excluded the entities that I've already worked in that particular filter. We'll go back to the first screen there, the first set of buttons. Clear the filter, go back to default, and we will let's just click a spot here, or double click a spot, and we'll see what happens. I'll show you what it does. Click that, double click that spot, it will QSY the radio to that particular frequency and mode that's listed in the spot, in this case 14225. You see that in Commander, and you see that on the radio itself down here on the camera. It will auto-populate that spot's call sign in the capture window. It will set the default signal report sent and received to 59. And that's configurable as well. You can have it not set it at all, or you can have it set the default numbers to some other value. It shows the current transmit and receive frequencies. And if I tune around here a little bit, let's say the spot was a little bit off. If I tune around a little bit, it'll update that in the capture window as well as Commander. It actually updates it in Commander, who updates the capture window, so that when I do spot, when I do log it, the correct frequency will have been logged, and we'll go back to 14.225 even where it was. So it captures the, pre-populates the call sign in the capture window, and it's basically ready to log. All I have to do is make the contact, confirm the signal report, type in any comments that I want, and then hit the log button, and it'll log it. It also pre-populates the call sign in the outgoing spot window, the outgoing spot dialog box, in case you want to make a spot of your own. The call sign's already there. You type in whatever spot notes you want, and then either make a local spot for yourself in the local database, or click cluster, and it'll send the spot out for the world to see. If I had ever had a QSO with this particular station before, VP8FIR, it would show up here on the last line in the last QSO field, but I've never made one with this particular station before. But I think there's one in here that I have, and I'll show you that one. Let me clear that, because we're not actually going to work that station or log that contact. And that'll bring me to a different filter here, the call sign filter. And I believe I saw a spot a while back for S51DX, S51 Delta X-ray, Slovenia. So we'll look for his call. And there's an old spot for him. It's I guess yesterday's spot, but it's still clickable. So we'll double click on that, and you'll see the radio QSY to 7143.8, where the spot was created. It's got his call sign, default signal report, looks up his name in QTH if it's available, along with any other information that may be obtainable for that station. Current transmit and receive frequency. Again, you tune the radio and it follows along. Go back to 0.8 there. I have made a QSO with this station before, back on Halloween, on 17 meters. And if I pull up the DX Keeper window and show you the log, I'll have to move it out from behind the camera, but you'll see that his call sign is in a log filter as well. And what that does is look through the log and will show me all the QSOs that I've ever made with this particular station. In this case, 2 QSOs. So I will. I don't want to close the app. I just want to move it out of the way. And I believe that is it. I believe that is the heart of the custom filtering that you can do within SpotCollector. It's by no means an exhaustive description of what you can do, but it's just it's a basic introduction into some filtering and some things that I learned how to do that I really like, and that got me hooked on this particular logging and rig control application, and that is DXLab. That's all I have for this one, folks, I believe. Please like, subscribe, and or comment as appropriate. Thanks for watching, and 73 from Kilo 4 Golf Charlie.